Part 30. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zai. Chapter 291. Chapter 291. The Devil Provokes a War. Yang Zizi sat on the sofa and was silent for a long time. Tomorrow, she would see him again, but her mood at the moment was not one of excitement and joy. Instead, it was as heavy as a big burden in her heart. In the heyday of Lun, our separation and reunion over the years are finally going to go in opposite directions. Tonight, Yang Zizi didn't sleep all night. She lay on the bed and watched the little angel all night long. She patted the little boy gently to make him sleep. She thought the child would grow quickly, but she didn't expect it to grow slower than she expected, as if it was the same growth rate as a human baby. Perhaps I have been in the human world for a long time and have acquired some human physique. If possible, she really hopes that the little envoy can live like an ordinary human being, without war or grudges, and live a free and easy life. Emissary, promise Mom, you will be happy. Her tears suddenly fell down and fell on the child's rosy little face. Sunrise. Yang Zizi walked to the living room with heavy steps. Zizi. 11 Jin was also worried and stayed up all night. He sat in the living room in a daze all night. When he saw Yang Zizi walking out of the room, he stood up quickly, hoping that she would change her mind. I'll leave it to you to take care of the little envoy. Yang Zizi glanced at him gratefully. When 11 Jin was about to open his mouth to speak, Yang Zizi had disappeared and he didn't say a word. If it weren't for this child, he would really want to chase him out with all his life. 11 Jin walked into the room, and the child's cries became louder and louder. 11 Jin had no choice but to pick him up and coax him. Although the movement of holding the child was very irregular, the little messenger quickly calmed down and fell into 11 Jin's warm arms. Fell asleep. He suddenly felt a warmth flowing into his body. This child is quite cute. Zizi, don't worry, I will take good care of the little envoy. When you come back, he will be white, fat and healthy. Yang Zizi came to the vampire clan and felt a smell of gunpowder smoke. She couldn't help but speed up her pace. There was already a wave outside the vampire castle, and fires were burning everywhere. What is going on? Could it be that the vampires were attacked? Yang Zizi continued to speed up and arrived in front of the castle gate, and unexpectedly saw the devil. It seems that the devil has come to attack the vampires. But what is the reason? Suddenly, Mu Shinai raised the arrow in his hand and aimed it at Lun Zhenqi, who was fighting against the enemy in the air. Yang Zizi spread his wings and quickly flew in front of Lun Zhenqi, intercepting the speeding arrow quickly and accurately. Zizi, Mu Shinai looked at Yang Zizi in surprise. The prosperous life of Lun turned around, and thousands of emotions surged into his heart. Yang Zizi turned around and looked at him, but his eyes were no longer filled with eyes, but with hatred. She avoided Lun Zhenqi's eyes and looked down at the ground. How many vampires died miserably at the hands of the devil? If the fight continued, would the vampires disappear from this world like the angels? Absolutely impossible. She is also a member of the vampire clan, and it is impossible for her to watch her people being harmed by demons again. Mu Shinai, it's too late to turn back. If you insist on hurting my people, then you and I will have to fight to the death. Yang Zizi looked at Mu Shinai and declared to him loudly. As long as you go back to with me, I will stop. Mu Shinai's voice was quiet but firm. End of this chapter. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zai. Chapter 292. Chapter 292. He must die in my hands. As soon as Lun Zhenqi heard this, he lost his temper. Then don't blame me for being rude. As he said that, he quickly launched an attack on Mu Shinai. Yang Zizi stood there and looked at them. If this continued, it was still unknown whether the vampire clan could survive. The two are equally powerful in combat, but the vampire has always been unable to defeat the devil. After all, vampires only have many superpowers, speed and strength that ordinary people do not have. The rest are no different from ordinary humans. But demons are different. They have supreme power and can even decide the life and death of others. Killing a person is as easy as a piece of cake. The angel race was easily exterminated by them is a living example. Gradually, Mu Shenyi probably got tired of playing and wanted to quickly end this battle that gave him no pleasure at all, when he was about to give Lun Chenchi a fatal attack. Yang Zizi urgently activated the power in his body and set up a defensive barrier in front of Lun Chenchi, blocking out any harm. Lun Chenchi opened his eyes and felt that there was a defensive protection on the opposite side of him. He knew it was Yang Zizi without having to guess. He turned around and saw Yang Zizi guarding him. At the end of the day, he must die in my hands. Do you insist on snatching him from me? Lun Chenchi's eyes dimmed a bit. It turned out that her purpose in coming to the vampire clan was still to kill him to avenge her brothers. He opened his mouth to say something, but still didn't say it. He felt that now was not the best time. Now that the devil was coming, if he told her the truth, it will definitely disturb her mind. Mu Chenai was shocked, and then he laughed. Of course I won't rob you, but simply killing him wouldn't be an advantage for him. He has killed all your biological brothers. These words are undoubtedly true. I want Yang Zizi to hate Lun Chenchi even more. Zizi, he really wanted to say something. Yang Zizi looked at him, his eyes full of disappointment. It's not your turn to tell me how to take revenge. It won't be too late for you to kill him after I deal with him first. After saying that, he grabbed the sharp sword in his hand and quickly attacked Mu Chenai. The two of them were fighting together. Yang Zizi was rude and his moves were deadly, but poor Mu Chenai could only choose to avoid them instead of showing his true strength. He was afraid of hurting her, and sometimes, Yang Zizi was so angry that he launched some small attacks, but Yang Zizi easily dodged them. Mu Chenai, if you want to be beaten, hit him hard, otherwise get out of here, Yang Zizi shouted loudly. The feeling of being constantly given up by the other party really made her feel very unhappy. Was he looking down on her ability as a vampire and angel hybrid? Shenyi closed his eyes tightly at the end of the scene. He started the war this time just to let Yang Zizi go to with him and let her be by his side forever, but she didn't want to. Zizi, as long as you. There's no way, unless you kill me. Yang Zizi answered him without hesitation. She came to kill Lun Chenchi, but she didn't expect to meet Mu Shenai. Although he is also a demon, it was his father who killed the angel. He does not want to involve the next generation because of the grudges of the previous generation. Muchen Yi, you don't know what love is at all now. I will never like you in my life. It's not worth it for you to waste your troops for me. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 293. Chapter 293. The more painful it becomes. But I love you, I want you to stay with me, I want you. Mu Chenai looked at him with great desire. His wish was really simple, as long as she could stay by his side, even if she gave up. What about the position of the god of demons? Yang Zizi sighed helplessly. How could he have provoked such a stubborn person? Mu Chenai, maybe we can be friends, as long as you withdraw your troops, Yang Zizi said. Looking at the endless war, she didn't want more people to die because of this ridiculous war. At the scene, Shenyi held the bow and arrow tightly, with an extremely tormented expression on his face. He didn't know what to choose. It seems that no matter what choice you make, you won't get what you want. In the end, I don't know why he actually gave in. He put away the arrows and said in a low voice, "Okay, I promise you, I will retreat." After saying that, all the demons retreated, and the harsh fighting sound finally stopped. "Thank you." At the end of the scene, Shen Yi took a deep look at Yang Zizi, and finally turned around and left. Before Lun Zhenji had time to say the first thing she wanted to say to Yang Zizi, she moved to him in the blink of an eye and pierced his heart with an arrow. He looked at Yang Zizi in disbelief. She had just saved him twice. "Zizi," he was still reading her name, his tone full of reluctance. Suddenly, Yang Zizi's heart hurt violently. She closed her eyes and kept telling herself that she must not be lenient, he was the real murderer of her brothers. "Not me." His voice was very weak, but she heard it clearly, but she turned a deaf ear to it. It was the instinct of the murderer to quibble. She only believed what she saw with her own eyes. Yang Zizi suddenly opened her eyes, her blood-red eyes filled with hatred for Lun Zhenji, and she lit a torch out of thin air. "It was me, it was my fault. Meeting you was a mistake. One wrong step after another, and in the end it led to so many innocent people dying in vain," she cried with tears in her eyes, but she tried her best to control them and not let them. "If they fall, at least they can't be seen falling by Lun Zhenji." Lun Zhenji shook his head with despair. He wanted to say something, but he no longer had the slightest strength to make a sound. She picked up the torch and threw it on Lun Zhenji. She quickly closed her eyes again, she was afraid that she would rush over and hug him regardless of her own safety. "The fire is getting stronger and stronger." Hearing the sound of fire, Yang Zizi felt weak all over, and every hair on his body was in severe pain. She suddenly fell to the ground, but she didn't dare to open her eyes at all, but her tears were already falling. "Brother Shenji," Gui Chao's excited and desperate shout came from the distance. "Brother Shenji, no," Gui Kale roared in pain. When he saw Yang Zizi lying on the ground indifferently, he was instantly furious. He rushed over and slapped Yang Zizi the face. Yang Zizi was beaten so hard that he was dizzy. She acknowledged the slap. "Yang Zizi, you are scarier than the devil." Yang Zizi finally opened his eyes were dull and there was no hope at all. "He killed his brothers, and he was also your biological brother." She never understood that even if Gui Kale disowned his relatives, he wouldn't be so outrageous. Even the murderer of his own half-brother must be protected without any hatred. End of this chapter. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 294. Chapter 294 Gui Kale restores the truth. It's not him, Gui Kale shouted like crazy. Yang Zizi slowly raised his head and wondered what he just said. Did she hear it wrong? "What did you say?" "Brother Shenji didn't kill the brothers at all." Gui Kale fell to the ground and burst into tears. She regretted that she blamed Lun Zhenji for the murder, but if she didn't do that, she would lose Lun Zhenji, and Yang Zizi would become Brother Shenji's only vampire queen. By then, she would really have nothing. "But I didn't expect that Yang Zizi would be so cruel as to kill Brother Shenji." Yang Zizi shook his head. This was impossible. She could see clearly that it was Lun Zhenji who killed his brothers. She couldn't be wrong. Impossible. The corners of Yang Zizi's mouth trembled violently. Suddenly, for a moment, she really hoped that Lun Zhenji could come back to life. As long as he came back to life, she could pounce on him with all her strength without caring about anything. But, it's too late. It was me who changed the memory of the dungeon, that's why you saw it wrong." Yang Zizi's eyes widened. If it was true as Gui Kale said, then she fell down twice in her conspiracy. She remembered that Lun Zhenji told him that Gui Kale could create scenes that were fake and real, confusing black and white. Is it true that she really killed Lun Zhenji by mistake? No. No, definitely not. Yang Zizi was going crazy, and there was a burning sensation in her head that made her feel like she was about to explode. "It was me, I killed my biological brothers," Gui Kale admitted and began to show Yang Zizi his sin. She hugged her and conveyed the original true memory to Yang Zizi. It was the first time she held her half-sister so intimately, and she didn't know why she suddenly felt a trace of tenderness. It was like blood soluble in water. If there was no such thing as a prosperous life, they should have become very good sisters. However, everything was too late and nothing could be saved. Yang Zizi received the memory conveyed to her by Gui Kale. As she said, her brothers were not killed by Lun Zhenxi, but by Gui Kale. She pushed Gui Kale away fiercely and pointed the sword in front of her in an instant. How could she be so cruel, even daring to kill her own brother for her own selfishness? She was indeed raised by Gui's own Liang, the two of them were so similar. Looking at the reflected sword heart in front of him, Gui Kale did not resist, but said with a smile, "Kill me to avenge my brothers." As expected, Yang Zizi pierced Gui Kale's heart with his sword without any mercy. According to legend, every dead soul has to go through the first level of to the 19th level of until slowly disappearing from this world. Humans may have reincarnation, but vampires do not. She told Yang Zizi all this with a smile. And wanted her to try to save Lun Zhenxi. After all, the god of hell was deeply in love with her and would definitely help her. Although she doesn't know whether this legend is true or not, if she doesn't try it, she really has no chance. After Yang Zizi heard this, she spread her wings and flew away regardless of whether it was true or false. But she cannot enter hell, let alone open the door to hell. The only way is to turn to Mu Shinai again. I can't control that much anymore. The curtain falls. Yang Zizi shouted his name into the distance across the vast expanse of land. Now only Mu Shinai can save Lun Zhenxi. She must save Lun Zhenxi. Definitely. End of this chapter. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 295. Chapter 295. Just wait. No matter how loudly she shouted his name, hoping that he would come to rescue her, Mu Shinai did not appear. After a long time, Mu Shinai finally appeared. Mu Shinai, please, please take me to hell, please help me. Yang Zizi grabbed his hand and begged excitedly. Shen Yi looked at her at the end of the scene, and his heart was extremely painful. He really wanted to throw away his hand, and he was determined not to help her save her love rival. However, seeing her in such a humble state, he finally softened his heart. Okay, I'll take you there. Mu Shinai's voice was very low. At the end of the scene, Shen Yi waved his hand, and the door to opened. Yang Zizi ran in instantly without saying a word. Only when facing a prosperous life would she be so caring and desperate. After all, the smell on her body is no longer as close to human as before, and she is willing to put herself in the mouth of a tiger for him. But, it doesn't matter, because behind her there is this fool-like god of hell. Yang Zizi came to hell, a very familiar place. This is the 18th floor? At this time, Lun Zhenxi should still be on the first level. Take me to the first floor, please. She grabbed his clothes and said humbly. Can't go, because of heartache. He couldn't meet all her requests. Aren't you the god of hell? Why can't you even go to the first level? Yang Zizi blamed Shen Yi like crazy. Yang Zizi, calm down. You have already put yourself in danger by entering the 18th level of hell. Do you want your flavor to be felt everywhere? Mu Shinai was angry, not just because he was jealous of Lun. It was a prosperous age, especially because Yang Zizi could be so crazy for another man, even risking his own life. I'm not afraid. Yang Zizi shook his head and said firmly. What else does she fear in this world now? The only thing she fears is the prosperous age. Afraid that he would leave her forever and not even have the chance to be reincarnated. In the scene, Shen Yi worked very hard to contain his anger. It was only because he fell in love with the wrong person that he got himself bruised and bruised. I'm sorry, I really can't open the door to the first level of hell. Mu Shinai didn't lie, he was just the in charge of the 18 levels of hell, That's all. Then how can I enter the first level? How can I see Lun Zhenji and stop him from going to the next level of hell? You can only wait 100 years later, when the prosperous age of Lun passes here, you may be able to prevent him from entering the last level of hell, Mu Shanai said slowly. Okay, I'll wait. Brother, you are back. It is Muna. When she saw Yang Zizi, a trace of surprise and uneasiness flashed in her eyes. But she still greeted Yang Zizi warmly. Zizi, long time no see. Long time no see. Yang Zizi smiled bitterly. She originally thought that she would never be able to step into again after being kidnapped by Mu Shenyi last time, but she never expected that she would come to again to save the prosperous world. Muna walked over and gave her a big hug, as if to comfort her. Yang Zizi smiled back at her. Now they both share the same problem. I can understand your mood, but... Mu Na wanted to continue saying something but was scolded by Mu Chanai. Mu Na. Mu Na glanced at Mu Chanai's eyes, and the words she was about to say were abruptly turned back by Mu Chanai. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 296. Chapter 296 100 years. You will definitely wait for him. Mu Na patted Yang Zizi on the shoulder and looked at her with a good luck expression. Thanks. 100 years may not be a very long time for humans, but for her, it is like a year. But when she thinks that she will be able to see Lun Zhenji again in 100 years, resurrect him, and take him to see, she couldn't help but feel excited about their child, and it was worth waiting for 100 years. During the past 100 years, it was not so boring with Mu Na accompanying her. She would often tell herself about the time she lived in the human world and how hard she cherished the time spent with her human lover. In the end, her lover died tragically at the hands of her biological father. When she returned to hell, she had forgotten all her memories in the human world. Then did you see him in hell? Yang Zizi asked. No, I had no memory at that time, so I didn't wait on purpose. It was precisely because of this that I missed the most regrettable thing in my life. Mu Na lowered her eyes, seeming to be recalling their past. He should have been reincarnated now, so why don't you go find him? Yang Zizi asked. I don't want him to leave this world early because of me. What's more, he is already married and has children. Mu Na is also an infatuated woman. How could she let go? As early as when she heard that the man had been reincarnated, she rushed to him immediately. However, for his safety, she did not visit him frequently until that day. When he was 20 years old, Mu Na was filled with joy and wanted to talk to him. However, she realized that he was already holding his baby in his left hand and his wife in his right hand. Mu Na couldn't bear to break that scene. His previous life might have been so happy if it weren't for her. Yang Zizi looked up and saw only darkness. She thought of the envoy, and wondered whether 11 Jin was reliable in raising a child. Half of the 100 years she came to wait have passed, and the little angel should be a walking and talking man now. What are you thinking about? Mu Na waved her hand in front of her eyes. Nothing, Yang Zizi smiled and shook her head. In 500 years, she would be able to see Lun Zhenji and take him back. Ma Chunyi has been extremely busy since he became the god of hell, but even so, he still takes the time to visit her every day. Sometimes he just glanced at her from a distance, and sometimes he would sit down and chat with her. After the topic was gone, he would sit quietly with her for several hours without speaking. Since this period of time, Mu Shanai has been happy. As long as he can have her by his side and see her, he is already satisfied. Brother Mu Na called out to Mu Shanai, who was dealing with official business, in a sincere voice. At the end of the scene, Shenyi did not even raise his head. It's only 10 years away from 100 years. Aren't you going to tell Zizi the truth? She can't take Lun Zhenji away at all, let alone save him. Muna sympathized with Yang Zizi. For Lun Zhenji, if you wait endlessly, you won't even know the result in the end. What's the truth? Mu Shanai pretended not to know anything. Brother, even if Zizi sees Lun Zhenji, she can't take him away, let alone save him. You will only harm her by forcing her to stay in hell. She knew that her brother had been keeping Yang Zizi by his side with a sense of luck. As long as I am here, no one can hurt her. End of this chapter. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 297. Chapter 297 Intangible. This is not something you alone have the final say. Shenyi didn't say anything at the end of the scene, as if everything had been made to the final plan. He doesn't care about anything now. What he cares about most is that Yang Zizi must not leave him. He must not lose Yang Zizi, otherwise, he will go crazy. Get out, Mu Chanai was a little impatient. Brother. Mu Na wanted to dissuade her brother from returning to reality, but was frightened away by a look from Mu Chanai. She wanted to tell Yang Zizi in person, but she couldn't bear it. First, because Zizi had waited for 90 years, and there were only 10 short years until she could see the prosperous world of Lun, but she didn't know that even if once you see it, it's just a soul. In the last few years, Mu Na seemed to have deliberately avoided Yang Zizi and never took the initiative to find her, because she was afraid that she could not help but tell Yang Zizi all the facts. How desperate she must have been at that time. She stayed in for 100 years at risk, just to wait for the prosperous age to appear, rescue him, and take him home. However, the cruel reality was not like this. Without Mu Na's company, Yang Zizi's life became more and more boring. In the past 10 years, it felt like centuries had passed because his expectations were getting higher and higher. Fortunately, Mu Shanai would often come over to accompany her and tell her some of the history of demons, but these were all bedtime stories he told her before he was in his prime. Perhaps because of the similarity of the stories, Yang Zizi couldn't help but have the illusion that Lun Zhenji was around her, but when she saw Mu Chanai's profile, she was instantly disappointed. Time passed bit by bit. In the last year, Yang Zizi waited every day and night for the passing of the soul, fearing that he would miss it like Mu Na. The strange thing is that Mu Na did not accompany her. It was Mu Chanai who often waited with her. It was the last day, and Yang Zizi couldn't help but feel happy. She was about to see the man she had been thinking about for 100 years. Her uncle is finally coming. She couldn't hold back her tears. But after waiting for a long time, not even a gust of wind blew. Yang Zizi looked up at Mu Chanai. His pleading eyes made Mu Chanai's nose sore, but he still said gently, "Don't worry. Continue waiting." Finally, from a distance, a beam of light shone in. Slowly, a person walked in, and his whole body was covered with a faint light. Yang Zizi recognized him at a glance. The prosperous age of society, she ran away with all her strength. But the other party was still dumbfounded, as if he didn't hear her voice. When she opened her arms and was about to hug him tightly, she suddenly missed him and fell to the ground. Yang Zizi looked at him in disbelief. What was going on? Why couldn't she touch him? Lun Zhenji, she called his name from close range, but he seemed to be deaf and didn't even hear her. "Uncle," Yang Zizi stood up and chased after him, trying to catch him, but still failed. What happened? She ran forward and stood in front of him, but he penetrated Yang Zizi's body as if he didn't see anything. Yang Zizi turned around and looked at Lun Zhenji in shock. It turns out that this is just a soul. What should I do? Yang Zizi anxiously ran to Mu Chanai for help. Mu Chanyi was obviously undecided, and he didn't know what to do. The reason why he left her in Yangzizi was just because he wanted to look at her. End of this chapter. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 298. Chapter 298. Another 100 years. Much Shenyi shook his head. Seeing that Lun Zhenji was about to go to the next level of hell, if he went down further, he would never be able to come back. Yang Zizi once again tried to hug Lun Zhenji, but still only grabbed a handful of invisible air. Seeing that Yang Zizi was about to enter the passage with Lun Zhenji, Mu Shenyi instantly pulled her back. Lun Zhenji. Lun Zhenji. No, don't go any further, I beg you, stop, stop. No matter how heart-wrenching Yang Zizi cried, the other party kept moving forward without any response. Brother, it's not good, Mu Na suddenly ran over in a panic. Mu Shenyi almost guessed what made Mu Na nervous. He glanced at Yang Zizi in his arms. It seemed that no matter what, their two hostile races would eventually go in opposite directions. Regardless of whether there was a prosperous age or not, it seemed to be the same outcome. He had a tormented look on his face, as if he had made the most difficult decision. Zizi, calm down first, I promise you, I will definitely bring Lun Zhenji back. Wait for me for 100 years, believe me, I will definitely bring Lun Zhenji back to you. Mu Na looked at Mu Chenyi and felt a little unbearable, thinking that he was still trying to trick Yang Zizi. But this time, it was not the case. In the past 100 years, she had never seen Yang Zizi smile. Until the moment she saw Lun Zhenji just now, her eyes were filled with light, and she seemed to see infinite hope, and she was running risklessly. Xiang Lun, prosperous age. At that moment, his heart was moved. They are not separated by a prosperous era, but by two races that cannot get along for eternity. For her, he is willing to do anything. Since a prosperous life is her life, then he will return this life to her. Yang Zizi looked at him in disbelief. But before that, you must first leave and return to the human world. The complex flavors there can easily cover up your angelic aura, so returning to the human world is the safest place for you. This day has finally come. Yang Zizi shook her head. She didn't dare to leave. She was afraid that once she left, Lun Zhenji would really not be able to come back. Believe me, I am the god of hell. I will definitely bring the prosperous world back to you safely. Just believe me, just wait for me for 100 years. Yang Zizi was desperate and had no other solution. Since Mu Chenyi was so determined to bring back the prosperous age of Lun, he must have a way, and it would be better to struggle fearlessly here. Okay, I will believe you for the last time. I will wait for 100 years. There were tears in the corners of Yang Zizi's eyes, but his eyes were extremely firm, as if he had already prepared for the worst. Muna, hurry up, take her out of first. Good. Muna immediately opened the door to the exit of after speaking. Yang Zizi was reluctant to leave. Believe me, Mu Chenyi gave Yang Zizi a firm look. Yang Zizi nodded and entered the exit of with Mu Na. Back to the human world again, she couldn't get used to the brilliance outside for a while. I sent you here first. You have to be careful. In the human world, it is impossible for my father to find you, so you are very safe, Mu Na said with a smile. Can Mu Shenyi really bring back the prosperous age of society? Of course he can, he is the god of hell, he can do it, Mu Na comforted her with a smile. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 299. Chapter 299. Picked up by a cute baby and brought home. Yang Zizi has been wandering the streets alone for 100 years. The place he was once so familiar with has become more intelligent and prosperous than before. Perhaps she has indeed lagged far behind in the past 100 years. She suddenly felt hungry. When she was about to take out her mobile phone to scan the code and order a cup of milk tea, she suddenly remembered that her mobile phone had been left behind by the vampire clan. She had not used her mobile phone in 100 years. She sighed helplessly. She wanted to go back to the place where she and Lun Zhenji lived together after their marriage, and wait for him quietly there. Suddenly, a cup of milk tea was handed to Yang Zizi. When she lowered her head, she saw a little boy with big, fleshy eyes, who was probably only 3 years old. "Mommy, do you also like to drink milk tea? The child's voice is so cute that anyone who sees it will like it." She looked at the little boy, and a memory rushed into her mind. Tears filled her eyes immediately. The 3-year-old child in front of her was her son Xiaozai. She almost didn't recognize it. She only recognized it after this little guy conveyed his memories from childhood to her. No wonder this little guy would it reminded her inexplicably of the prosperous times of Lun. Little envoy, Yang Zizi hugged him and burst into tears. "Mommy, let's go home and cry, there are so many people here." The little guy held a large cup of milk tea in his hand and looked roundly at the passers-by on the road, feeling a little embarrassed. "Okay, let's go home." Yang Zizi picked up the little guy, and his lonely heart finally felt a little comforted. Yang Zizi returned home with the envoy in her arms, and there were 6 particularly conspicuous teenagers standing in front of the door of the villa where she and Lun Zhenji were married. The other thing she never expected was that her brothers were still there. "Brother," she couldn't believe her eyes. "Sister, it's us," Gui Chen Chen shouted, wanting her to know that this was not a dream, this was real. Her brothers were back with her again, and she was their favorite again. Yang Zizi put down the emissary, ran to his brothers, and hugged them. She really, really misses them. But, haven't they already? What the is going on? Brothers have already? Yang Zizi looked confused. "It was you and the little messenger who saved us. In fact, your blood had already worked in the dungeon, but because you were pregnant with the little messenger, the effect would be slower." Fortunately, Gui Kale still had some conscience and didn't take it seriously. "We brothers were set on fire," Gui Ziogo said with a smile. "It was great to see my little sister again. You are not allowed to leave us again." "Okay, brothers, I promise you that I will never leave you again." Gui Ziogo gently wiped away the tears of his little sister. "Mommy is a little crybaby." In order to attract Yang Zizi's attention, the little guy came to tease his mommy again. Yang Zizi burst into tears and laughed. 11 Jin, who stood silently aside, looked at all this beauty. It was so good that Yang Zizi finally smiled. Everything can go back to the starting point again. Yang Zizi saw 11 Jin's obscurity and was very grateful for taking good care of the little envoy over the past 100 years. "Thank you, Zijin, help me raise my little angel so well. I didn't raise them all, they were raised by me and my 5 brothers." 11 Jin twisted his head in embarrassment. 5 grown men have already prepared dinner for Yang Zizi. The family is sitting at the dining table having fun and talking about each other's past century. End of this chapter. The fake daughter can be either salty or sweet. Author, Wu Zizai. Chapter 300. Chapter 300 Return to Normal. "So, you have to wait for the god of war for another 100 years, Gui Nan Brown asked. "Well, I will definitely wait for him, and he will definitely come back," Yang Zizi said. "We'll wait with you," 11 Jin and his brothers said in unison. "The little ambassador is also waiting." The little ambassador raised his chubby hand excitedly. He could understand everything the adult said, and naturally he also knew who the mother had to wait for 100 years. Yang Zizi touched the little envoy's hair happily. After dinner, mother and son hugged each other and sat on the sofa. "Little ambassador, how about living in this villa with mommy from now on?" She couldn't help but pinch the little guy's little face. "What about the uncles and brother Zijin, The little envoy looked up at Yang Zizi with his big eyes blinking and asked. Yang Zizi glared at 11 Jin. This boy actually asked the envoy to call him brother. Shameless. Humph. 11 Jin pretended not to see or hear anything. He would look at the ceiling for a while, then rub the floor to test its anti-slip properties. My uncles and brother 11 Jin live in the villa next door. Now that our uncles have learned how to cook, we will go to our uncles for 3 meals a day. Let me tell you, in the past, our uncles would come to us every day. If you come home to have a meal, we must reciprocate. The brothers all smiled fondly. It was great that she still remembered the good times in the past. Okay, the little envoy likes to eat, the little envoy shouted with satisfaction. They didn't chat for long after the meal. The 6 teenagers evacuated the scene like a boy band. Only a mother and son were left in the huge villa. Little ambassador, have you missed mommy in the past 100 years? Think about it every day. The little guy has similar interests to ordinary human children. He occasionally plays with human children's toys with interest, but they are all highly intelligent toys, such as Rubik's Cube, Sudoku, and other games. Mommy will never leave you again. Mommy wants to watch you grow up. The next day, Yang Zizi was preparing to return to the entertainment industry. Although it was revealed on the internet that she had died due to unknown reasons 100 years ago, this time she was going to enter the entertainment industry under a different identity. She re-uploaded a profile for herself. Continue to take over the brokerage company that he founded 100 years ago. In the past 100 years, Gui Chen Chen has been helping her manage the company, and in just 1 year, the hometown brokerage company has surpassed everyone's brokerage company and become the top brokerage company in the industry. The company now has 50 artists, all of them are first-line superstars, with the exception of Mayday, and all the artists are young and promising, no more than 30 years old. And Gui Chen Chen also signed himself to this brokerage company for life. This time Yang Zizi is back. Gui Chen Chen is willing to give up his position as the boss and become her right-hand man to help her run the company. But Yang Zizi didn't ask for it. She felt that Gui Chen Chen was more suitable to be the boss of hometown than herself. After discussing with Gui Chen Chen, Yang Zizi re-entered his hometown as a new person. However, netizens with glowing eyes quickly became excited. They edited the video and posted it on the short video app platform that has been in full swing recently, making her famous overnight. Just because she looks like the national goddess of the last century. End of this chapter.